Hey, what in the world is happening with King County real estate? Check it out. Here we go. You're looking at supply and demand. The last 2 years in King County, green is the supply, new listings, blue is the demand, number of homes that sold last month, September. Look at that. A massive increase in the number of listings. That is probably a 20% increase. 28. Yeah, almost a 30% increase in the number of listings from August to September. Now, September usually gets a little bit of a bump. That's September last year, that's September the year before. So you usually get a little bit, but you don't get 20, 30% increase. And buyers went up to match. There were buyers, to meet that demand. But that's usually the case too. Usually get a few more. And, it still hasn't reached, that's relatively flat. Peak buying demand is still relatively flat, while peak inventory is not flat. Peak inventory is going up every year. Last 3 years, boom, 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 going up. Buyers staying the same. And with the increase in inventory in September, this is not a surprise to anyone who's in the business, but it was harder to sell in September than it was in August. Why? Because there was more to choose from and proportionally less buyers. So it is, a great time to be a buyer in Seattle. Best time to be a buyer in the last 7 or 8 years. And the most tricky time to navigate being a seller. Doesn't mean it's a bad time to be a seller. It just means you need to price it right. You need good staging. You need to do it intelligently, and you cannot have an expectation that you're going to get as much money as you would have 2 years ago. You're just not. There's no reason to expect that. Who knows what the future holds, but there's no reason to expect that right now. Now, October, November, December, pretty typically you're going to see a massive drop off in the number of homes listed. Buying demand may stay close to the same, so selling in October may be easier. Selling in November, probably a little bit easier yet. But there you go. Okay, so if you're planning on buying, I would jump on that right now and look for people that listed in September. That massive inventory, that bump, those people that have been waiting. If better yet, find someone who's still sitting around from the June, July bump and just hasn't faced reality yet that prices are not coming back. And if you're selling, don't expect the market to pay you what it would have paid you 2 years ago. It's not going to. There's no reason for it to. So if you have questions, because every situation is unique, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Give me a call. Aaron Hendon with Christine Company EXP. Party on, Wayne. See you next month. What in the world is happening with Kitsap County real estate? Let's see. Shall we? Shall we? Yes, we shall. Yeah, shall. Yes, us. All right, let's look. Here we go. So you've got the supply and demand graph for the last 2 years in Kitsap. Green is the supply. Blue is the demand. So number of new listings that went on the market and the number of homes that went under contract. All right, notice how flat buying demand is. I mean, it's just flat. It's down even a little bit in Kitsap off last year. But for the most part, really, really, really steady. Inventory, however, jumped this year, right? And it's been coming down each month with flat demand. You can see that the demand is getting close to the supply. That those numbers are getting closer. That means it is harder to buy in Kitsap. Certainly harder to buy in Kitsap than it is in King. Harder to buy in Kitsap than it is in Snohomish. So this looks a little bit like the Pierce County map. So if you're a buyer right now in Kitsap, you want to be prepared to move quickly on anything that comes to market that you like, or go hunting for one of those ones that came on the market in May and June that's still sitting there. Older listings don't inherently mean a problem. So you may be able to find a value there, but it's getting harder in Kitsap. Okay. If you're selling, you got a little bit more room to maneuver, right? You can price it right and probably get a bidding war, which is a little bit unusual these days. Uh, at any event, your prices have been capped by interest rates, so that part's doing its job. You're not going to get wildly over asking if you have a bidding war, predictably. But you can get it done because look, available inventory almost matches demand. And anytime that happens, you got the right listing in Kitsap, you'll be able to get top dollar for it. So every case is different. Everyone's unique. Everything is, unique. Except the word unique used 3 times in those last 2 sentences. But other than that, everyone's unique. So if you got questions about your circumstances, about what you're dealing with, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company at EXP. Party on, Wayne. See you next month. What in the world's happening with Pierce County real estate? Let's check it out. All right. Unlike the big brother in King County, inventory went down. That's right. You're looking at the inventory, the supply and demand chart for Pierce County. Green is the supply, number of houses that came to market. Blue is the demand, number of homes that went under contract every month for the last 2 years. So let's see, you've got less and less inventory, pretty typical for this time of year, although this is a really nice steady pattern down. Notice how the greens stair step down pretty conveniently, less and less. And buying demand has stayed relatively flat. It's down a little bit, but pretty predictable. So what you've got is elevated inventory compared to the last couple of years with decreasing inventory this year. So it's getting harder to buy in Pierce County. It's getting easier to sell in Pierce County. Why? Because there's less competition and there is almost the same number of buyers. So if you're looking to buy in Pierce County, you should be strategic. Look for homes that have been sitting on the market. Look for homes that you can get a deal on. You're still not going to pay 2022, 2023 prices. It's going to be lower. It's certainly not going to be higher by very much if it's not lower. And if you're looking to sell, it's predictable that, October and November will be easier times for you to sell than June or July would have been. There'll be less inventory, less choices with relatively same number of buyers until you get to like the end of November, December, and then everything will drop off. But as you can see, the last couple of years, even the end of the year, there's been more buyers than sellers. You can get your home sold over the holidays if you price it right and you're strategic. There's just less competition. So Pierce County, looking pretty open for selling in the near future. And for buyers, be strategic, but it's still pretty damn good time to buy. All right, let me know what questions you have because every situation is unique. Your situation's unique. I'm here for you. Let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company at EXP. See you next month. What in the world is happening with Snohomish County real estate? Do you really want to know? Do you really want to know? All right, let's look. Supply and demand. Green is supply. Blue is demand. Same as always. Notice how demand is pretty flat through the years. This is the last 2 years. Really, that's a fairly straight level line right there. And inventory has gone up this year in particular, right? We've been talking about that every month, not news. And September got a little bit better than August in terms of number of houses. So better for buyers, worse for sellers. More inventory, more supply, always bad for the seller. Didn't go up by very much. But the fact that it went up at all and buying demand went up just a skosh too to match those new houses means there's a lot of extra inventory on the market, means there's a lot of homes. If you're buying now, you should be looking at the homes that have been on the market for 2 weeks or more, 2 weeks to 60 days. And a 60 plus day listing doesn't mean there's something wrong with the house. It means that they priced it wrong. The house could be great. I know when people buy, they tend to think, well, if it's been on the market long, there must be something wrong with it. It's natural to think that. It's just not always accurate. Maybe there's something wrong with it, but the fact that it's on the market for 60 days does not equate to there's a problem with it. It almost certainly equates to it's overpriced, which means if their seller's motivated and they've been on the market for 60 days, you can get a deal. And there should be a bunch of those in Snohomish. If you're selling, don't be one of those people. You got to be realistic with what you can expect, and you cannot expect to get 2022 money in 2025. It's not happening. There's too many other choices, and money costs too much to get. Okay, interest rates have done their job capping home prices. There you go. That's the words I wanted. All right, so selling, price it smart. Be realistic. Buying, get out there. Go find something that you can negotiate on. Now, look, everyone's different. Every case is different. Your house is different. Neighborhood's different. Let me know what you're looking for so I can help. My name's Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company, ADXP. I'll talk to you next month. Party on, Wayne. Hey, what in the world is happening with Vashon Real Estate? Let's check it out. It's weird. You're looking at the supply and demand for the last 2 years. Green is the supply, new listings that come to market. Blue is the demand, the number of homes that went under contract every month, last 2 years. All right, and what do you see? Well, inventory is way down. Number of listings last month, September, way down. Okay, lowest since really January. What is this, January? February. The fewest listings since February. Now, it's triple what it was in February, but still less than any other month. So inventory is predictably getting used up. Will start to get used up. And in fact, buying demand went up. All of a sudden, there's this little increase in buying demand from July, August, and September, increase in demand. Now, what's predictable is October will be lower yet. There'll be fewer homes coming to market and fewer buyers to buy them. That's predictable, but Vashon has been anything but predictable recently. I mean, if you look at this map, it's very difficult to discern a pattern, other than the fact that this year was a banner year for inventory with relatively stable buyings. So what does that mean? It means if you're buying, there should still be plenty of available inventory, plenty of houses to find. Find some of those that have been on the market for a while where the seller is anxious to get it sold before the holidays. Hey, look at that. Definitely a good time to be in the market. And if you're selling, well, it's going to be easier to sell now than it has been in June, July, August, whatever that mess of inventory was with buying demand going down over the summer. Really hard to sell this summer. Looks like it's going to be easier in October, probably easier again in November. And for some reason, everyone stopped selling in November and December here. But if you look at the history, everything that gets listed in September and November, December gets sold. So don't hesitate to list in November just because you think, oh, spring. No, that's really not. It's really not true. It's really not true. Okay. The numbers bear out what I'm saying here. You can see it here on the graphs you're looking at. Anyway, everyone's case is different though. So everyone's unique. Let me know what your circumstances are. Let me know how, then so we can determine a plan to help you if you're selling or if you're buying. Let me know what I can do for you. All right. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company at EXP. Party on, Wayne.